Hello and welcome back to the Make It Take It podcast. I'm your host, Victor Kustin. I'm here with my co-hosts, Aiden Mattel and John Yaley, and of course, our producer, Jason Maya. Here we'll be talking all things around the NBA. Today, we'll start by cleaning the glass, talking about everything around the association, what's going on, injuries, big games, things that stood out to us and whatnot. And then we're going to go into a segment where we're going to redraft the 2023 NBA draft. And we're going to trade off picks. John here is going to have the number one pick. I'm going to have the second pick, and Aiden's going to have the third pick. And we're going to give analysis on these rookies and where we think the draft should have went based off of the majority of their rookie season so far. So let's start by cleaning the glass. What's one story that stood out to you, John, from the past couple days?
I'll go with the Lakers beating the Thunder. I think it was Monday night. The Lakers are an interesting team for me because they were so good late season last year. They kind of were worse to start the year, but then, obviously after the trades came on strong, they had a really good end to the season and kind of snuck into the playoffs and did damage. They just had a really disheartening loss to Denver. I think Denver, they clearly can't really beat. That's the ceiling, but they just beat the Thunder, who are the one seed still, or now they're the two seed by half a game. And it kind of made me think, like, can this team who's in the 9, they're only a game and a half out or 2.5 from missing the play-in entirely, can they sneak in, play a Minnesota and OKC in round 1 and beat a team that has more youth? I think it is possible, so it kind of made me think.
Yeah, I think that's very possible. Like, we know the Lakers is a veteran team. They're going to be dangerous with LeBron, especially with the two inexperienced teams you mentioned at the top of the West, and the Thunder and the Timberwolves. If they draw the Lakers in the first round, that's not where I want to be if I'm one of those young teams playing LeBron in the first round. But what's one thing that stood out to you, Aiden?
One thing that stood out to me is, the Celtics have been so hot recently, and their win streak finally coming to an end versus the Cavaliers, which was, just interesting to see. They've been so hot. In their last 10, the Celtics are 9-1, obviously. But it's interesting to see, and it's good to see that they're a beatable team. They were up 22 against the Cavs, ended up losing that lead. Cavs ended up winning the game. It was a tight finish, but they're just been so dominant for the league to finally see that they're a beatable team for the playoffs when it's time to come. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We just saw this Celtics team beat the defending champion Warriors by 60. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Not defending. 2 years ago. Whatever. You're beating Steph Curry by 60, holding him to awful shooting. I mean, that's something to show for. And the Cavs, man, as a team that we talked about, we like to see kind of what their identity is. And I think this game showed a lot from them. They didn't give up. They came back from down 22. But one thing I want to talk about is the Suns-Nuggets game last night. Suns come in on the road as big underdogs, and they take down the actual defending champion, Denver Nuggets, and Nikola Jokic. This was just a vintage Kevin Durant game. He showed up down the stretch, 35 points. I think the Suns need more of that.
I totally agree. They're in a dangerous spot right now. They're the 6th seed, just out of the play-in, but only a game up on the Kings, 2 games up on the Mavs for the 8th seed. So one bad stretch from them, who are 5-5 in their last 10, so it's not like they're playing great, or one really good stretch from the Kings, the Mavs, the Lakers. They could fall into the play-in. Who knows what happens? Obviously, you want the higher seeding. Interestingly, though, if this seeding happens the way it is, I almost think the Suns would rather be in the play-in than the 6th seed, because right now they play Denver round 1, and I know they just played well against them, but I think any team's trying to avoid Denver round 1. So I think for the Suns, the best bet, probably steal the 5 from the Pelicans. You're only a game back, and kind of go with whatever team you play there.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy when you look at the West, just to think that it's not even the playoffs yet, but it feels like every game matters so intensely right now. You look at the 5, you have the Pelicans, you have the 6, the Suns, the 7, the Kings. They're all one game apart. It seems like every game truly matters. And as you said, one big run from a team or one team just falling can really make a huge difference and really make an impact, especially with the play-in tournament. So it's really interesting to see how the season's going to turn out.
Yeah, this end of the season will really be telling for a lot of these West teams. I mean, the Mavs are 9 games out as the 8th seed. That really shows how close it is. There's 4 teams within 3 games of first place. So yeah, a lot will be telling. And one last thing I want to mention before we get into our main segment is has to do with the West teams, and that's Russell Westbrook having hand surgery. And although, yes, he's not the MVP Westbrook he was, I think he's been a great spark for this Clippers team, kind of reinventing his game to play around different stars. It's upsetting to see. I like Westbrook, and he's week to week after this hand surgery. What do you guys think about that?
I definitely think it's a loss, not crippling for, obviously if you're a Clippers fan, if Russ is the guy that gets hurt, not Kawhi or Paul George, you're like, all right, I can live with it. But like you said, Victor, he's been important for the team, spark plug off the bench, 11, 5, and 4 in his limited minutes. And kind of, it's funny, this was the role everyone envisioned for the Lakers. Just something didn't happen, didn't click, and he's been perfect in it with the Clippers. I don't think it'll tank the season, but it is an unfortunate loss for a team that's kind of clinging to that top tier of the West.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, and I love that you bring up the Lakers because this is the exact role that they wanted him to fill, and he just couldn't get it done. And it's great to see that he's able to do it now with the Clippers. And as you said, it's going to be a tough loss for them, but it isn't the biggest thing in the world. There's a lot of other guys they would have been a lot more upset about if they had gone down. So, it'll be fine. But it is upset to see just because he's found his place. He's been playing well, but it's tough.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the West, and that's going to lead us into our next segment with a team that's struggling in the West, the Spurs. They had the number 1 pick in last year's draft. So now we are going to redraft the 2023 NBA draft, starting with John. He has the number 1 pick, and I think this one's pretty obvious.
Yeah, no surprise here. I'll take Wembanyama again, just to kind of go over his season and then the recent stretch he's been on the year, averaging 20, 10, and 3. And the efficiency isn't quite there yet, but that's not a huge concern. He's just a rookie. The 3.5 blocks and 1.5 steals is what jumps out to me. Just already incredible defensive impact. The Spurs are, obviously a very bad team. They're bottom 3 in the league record-wise, but they always sneak into, whatever game I'm watching. I always end up watching the Spurs. If they play any decent team, I use it as an excuse to watch Wemby. Just such a talent already. You can sense the other teams, on offense. They feel his presence when he's in the paint on defense. And I'm not going to get cute. Spurs will keep Wemby here at 1.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that a 13-win team could be so fun to watch because they have this generational talent. But I really hope that they could get some pieces to build around him, or maybe even just figure out how to use him most effectively. But I have the 2nd pick, and I'm going to go with Brandon Miller, the original 2nd pick. I think that his talent has just been shown on full display this year. His team around him doesn't have a lot of talent. So, yes, he's getting a lot of minutes. He's touching the ball a lot, but he's averaging 17. He's shooting 38% from 3, which I think isn't bad considering he's taking 6 a game for a rookie. This guy is just a natural scorer. He's a natural baller, in my opinion, and he's going to be very good in this league for years to come. It's more about, fitting him with the right guys. He's a guy that I think could not run your offense in terms of having the ball every possession, passing, but be the main scorer on a team. And I think that's extremely valuable in today's NBA, guy that could just go out there and get a bucket. So Brandon Miller, for me, was a star in college, and I think he'll continue it in the league.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's funny. Like a lot of people, I kind of scoffed at the Hornets not taking Scoot. And I was like, what are you doing? Classic Hornets move. But it was the right pick. Like you said, he's had great stats already. Just to, touch on it more. In February, in 13 starts, he averaged 20 points. He's up to 22 for the month of March. The shooting is there, which was kind of what you saw in college at Alabama, like this guy, lengthy, 6'9", almost like Paul George size, and can hit the three. And he's shown it. Obviously, the team is bad, but some actual hope for the future for the Hornets, which is rare.
Yeah, and we'll give it to Aiden for the third pick.
So with the third pick, I was debating back and forth whether to take Azor or Amen, but I decided to go with Azor Thompson. I think it makes sense. He, has shown this season that he has an impact beyond just the box score from what it shows. When you look at his game, he's a good rebounder. He's a good defensive guy, and any team can use that. And when you kind of dive into his stats, he's a good guy. He's averaging 9 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He's shooting pretty much 50% from the field, which is good numbers for a rookie coming in. And he's only going to progress as a player. He's only going to get better. And I think he's just been doing a good job. I know he moved up a couple places, taking him at number 3, but I just think it makes sense when you're redrafting this order. I just think it's the pick to make at number 3.
I really like the pick. I was torn between him and his brother Amen, who we'll see if I take him with the next pick. But staying on Azor, he's impressed me. He kind of came in as the more kind of raw, like, what is this guy type prospect out of him and his brother, and he's been really good even though the team's been bad. Obviously, averaging the 6.5 rebounds, which you like, a steal and a block. Like the defense and rebound and kind of the glue guy stuff has stood out. And if this guy ever gets any semblance of a jumper or a 3, he could be incredibly impactful. I think he will be anyway, but he could be even all-star level, I would say. Right now, I see him as kind of a quality starter, glue guy type player on a winning team. But if he gets a jumper, his ceiling is pretty high.
Yeah, that was kind of the main point I had too. Is if he develops any type of 3-point shot, he's going to be an elite role player at least in this league. With his defensive ability. But I'm happy that he's shooting them. He's averaging almost 2 attempts a game, even though he's shooting under 20%. You're a rookie. You're not on a good team, fire them up, figure it out, keep shooting, and hopefully you'll develop a shot one day. But are you going to take the other Thompson with your next pick, John?
I am. I will take Amen Thompson. And who would this be for? Number 4. Is that Houston,
number 5,
I think?
Number 4.
Yeah, number 4. I think so. Yeah, they get him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been very similar to his brother statistically. He's played a little less minutes per game, and his team's better, obviously. But I like what I've seen from him. Similar type player, kind of defense, rebounding, athleticism, but the 3 isn't there. But you could just tell the talent's there. That team, even though they've been good, they're kind of figuring out what they are. They have so many young guys. Jalen Green doesn't kind of really fit anymore. Şengün's obviously the man, but you got to juggle him, Jabari Smith, Amen Thompson. And despite all of it, he's been an impactful contributing player. I don't want Scoot to fall too far, but just from what we've seen, I can't take Scoot over Amen Thompson. So he's my pick.
Yeah, I like Amen a lot. I think he's a forward that could run your offense, and I think that's pretty modern NBA. He's a very solid passer, and I think if he puts all his tools together, similar to his brother, he's going to be a very solid NBA player. Heading to my next pick, with the 5th pick, I'm going to take Jaime Jaquez, and I'm going to take him because this guy went a lot later in the draft than he should have. He went pick 18, and he fell that way because he was, a long-time college player. He's already 23 years old. But he's coming in and had an instant impact for a Miami Heat team that I think really needs more of a spark right now. He's averaging 13, 4, 2.5 on a team that made a deep playoff run last year. So that just goes to show you that this guy's came in as a veteran, ready to play, ready to help in any way he could, and he's accepted his role and he's made the most of it. He's been a solid shooter, a solid scorer, solid spark. He participated in the dunk contest. That's fun. So I think, and he's also kind of a fan favorite, with the hair and all that. So I think the Heat really got a steal here with Jaime Jaquez, and that's why I'm going to take him at 5 in the redraft.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he just brings a great offensive game to the Miami Heat. And he is a fan favorite. Everyone loves him. You know, the style he brings to the game. He's good for the NBA, I think. And they definitely got a steal here, getting him where they got him. And the fact that in this redraft, we're taking him here at 5 just shows it. So really, really interesting.
Yeah, no, I've really liked Jaquez so far. I think the cool thing about him compared to the other guys we talked about, he's actually on a winning team. They're the 6th seed right now. They're only a half game away from the 4th seed in the East, which is kind of crazy. You know, as much as I love Wemby, he's on a 13-49 team, and these other guys, they're all on losing teams. He's having a quality impact, good stats, good scoring on a team that actually is good and might be, a top 4 seed with a first round playoff, potential obviously beyond that. But so yeah, really like what I've seen. Like a lot of people, I was kind of like, oh, this long-time college guy, what's the ceiling? But he's proven me wrong.
So was that for the 5th pick of the NBA draft?
Yeah, to the Detroit Pistons.
So how do you think his role with him having such a big role in the Heat? Do you think him being on the Pistons, would it make him maybe have a lot more minutes, have a lot more plays, or do you think he'll be the same exact thing?
I think that's a really good point, and it's something I was just going to bring up was, yes, the Pistons seem like maybe a weird fit for him, but I think it's just about picking best player available. But a role with him on the Pistons would be interesting. He touched the ball more. He might have more scoring opportunities, might be less of a role player. But I could understand like why the Pistons don't take a guy like this, because it doesn't really they don't want an older guy. They want as many young guys as they could get because, they're just not it right now. So any way that they could get young assets, I could see why they might pass on like a 4-year college player. But his role would definitely increase with the Pistons, and he could be like a 15-point per game scorer as a rookie if he got drafted here.
Yeah, and I think your point about just taking the best player is the important thing at the end of the day. Pistons, whether they have Jaquez or not, they're going to be bad this year. So, it's really about taking guys who are better for the future, which is where, it probably worked out for them that they got a Thompson brother because, their ceiling is less defined. Jaquez is closer to who he's going to be, but definitely agree. I think probably a little better total numbers, maybe a little worse shooting efficiency, but nothing would change. Just less winning impact, obviously.
Yep, and that takes us to the 6th pick, which goes to Aiden. That was originally Orlando's pick.
I mean, we keep talking about how we don't want him to keep dropping, so I think I got to take him. But Scoot Henderson, he hasn't been having the season I think everyone expected him to have. But it's also difficult when he's on a Portland Trailblazers team that's struggling. They're 17-43. They're 2-8 in their last 10. It's tough to really excel when your team's not doing that great. But when you look at his stats, he's averaging 13 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, almost shooting 40% from the field. As time goes on, I think he's only going to continue to develop, continue to emerge as kind of the point guard he is. And I think he would bring, good attributes to the Magic that they kind of need. And then you're looking at the Magic too, which is a team that is playing really well. The 36-26 and the 4. Scoot could, maybe help them a little more, but he's doing good. And I think would be a good redraft pick for him.
Yeah, no, Scoot, he's an interesting one for me because I really liked him pre-draft. Like a lot of people, great physical talent, athletic and size for a point guard. That you could see the physicality potential for defense in the future. Obviously, the driving ability, the shooting was the question. It has not been answered so far this year. As you mentioned, only shooting, I think, 31% from 3, sub 40 from the field. So the efficiency has been really poor. But I'm not going to give up on him yet. He's averaging 18 and 6 assists this past month. So really the team's bad. He's young. This time next year, if he's putting up similar numbers, it might be time to hit the panic button. But right now, Blazers are in a position they can kind of relax, see what happens in the offseason and going into next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. What you said, Scoot's just an extremely raw player. He's got raw athleticism, raw talent. But I don't really expect him to be this type of shooter. Like he wasn't like a great shooter in the G League, and I think that's part of the reason why he fell from 2 to 3 in the real draft. He attempted 3 threes a game, less than it, and shot 27% from 3 in the G League. I think he's not a great shooter. Yes, he's very young. He's only 20. He could develop a shot. He's got great athletics, and he showed some sparks recently. He had a 30-point game a couple nights ago. I think Scoot could develop well, but it's really, like you said, it's the shooting, and that matters a lot from the guard position, especially in today's NBA. So the next pick in our draft is the 7th pick, which is to John, originally owned by the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, I'm going to take Derek Lively, who went, He went 12th to the Thunder, but they traded him to the Mavericks. And he's been very strong as a rookie, 8 points, but 7 rebounds, really strong defense, less minutes than some guys, but again, kind of similar to Jaquez. He's actually on a team that's contending a little bit and really needs his defense. I think he'd actually, additionally, beyond just being the best guy here, would fit well with the Pacers. They've been looking to move Turner forever. This would be a good kind of, backup. If you do move off him, you're not left with nothing. And we know they have really good offense, really good pace, but not the best defensive team. And the thing I love about him is the defense. So Derek Lively would be my pick here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good fit. Like you pointed out, like Turner has been on trade talks for like 4 years now, it feels like. And although Turner is having a great year, a guy like Lively bringing like a physical aspect down low to this Pacers team, just an efficient player, someone that is not going to bring many negatives and going to bring a lot of positives to your basketball team. So for the next pick, it is the 8th overall pick, which I have originally belonged to the Washington Wizards. And this might surprise you guys, but I'm going to take Cam Whitmore at this pick. And he was very honestly highly touted coming out of the draft. A lot of people were talking about him going in the top 10 originally. And then I guess something happened near draft day and he fell to 20. This guy's 19 years old still, out of Villanova, one of the best schools for college basketball development. He's averaging 12 points per game on 56% shooting, 36% from 3, taking 4 threes a game, and he's only playing 17.5 minutes a game. Why is this guy not playing more? He's a 19-year-old rookie on a team that hasn't proved anything this year, doesn't show any competitiveness. Throw this guy out here, get him more minutes, because he's averaging 12 points per game and under 18 minutes a game. I just don't understand how you don't have a 19-year-old rookie out there. So this is a no-brainer pick to me, based on efficiency and based on future. I think Cam Whitmore would be a great player.
Yeah, I love that you bring up his age. I think it's just so crucial when you have a good guy, a young guy, and putting him in an NBA system just for him to only develop and to get better is so crucial. So it's so important when you have a good young guy to catch on him, to really just invest in him, put him into the system and get him going, which is great to see. And I think, it's a risky pick, you could say, but I like the pick that you made, and I agree with it.
It definitely surprised me, but I don't hate it, especially for the Wizards. They're another kind of team that has this, long road ahead. And so taking a young guy like Cam Whitmore, who conceivably could have gone 8th, like you said, he was talked about in the top 10 and then fell for whatever reason. Was it personal? We don't really know. Was it in a workout? And yeah, he's been good this year, good score. I like the shooting. He's 36% from 3. You could see that improving. And I just don't think it's a great team for him, at least right now. That might change just because, as I mentioned before, they have a lot of good young guys, a lot of good wings. Jabari Smith's there, the Thompson brothers there, Jalen Green's there. They're all kind of young, all rising stars, sort of clamoring for a similar role. And I think he's just kind of left out. Whereas if he was on the Wizards, he'd be getting more minutes, more shots. He could be averaging, 15, 16 a game, I think.
Yeah, it's honestly a good point. I didn't even think about how many wings that team has. And I think when the Rockets got to the 20th pick, they're like, how do we not take this guy? He's the best guy available, like we just mentioned. So for the next pick, it is the 9th overall pick, which is the Utah Jazz pick.
So I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm going to take Keontae George, which was the Jazz's 16th overall pick. I think they got a steal taking him at 16. He's a rookie point guard, and to find a rookie point guard is very difficult. And I think he's proven himself this season. I think he's proven himself to be kind of the Jazz's lead guard of the future. And, playing besides Laurie, it's just a great guy to play beside. And when you kind of look at Keontae, you could say his shooting's questionable. He's shooting 38% from the field, but kind of diving deeper into his stats, he's an efficient player. He's averaging 12 points, 3 boards, 4.5 assists. And I think he's only going to get better. And I love the kind of role he's taken with the Jazz. So I would just retake him again, but just earlier.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I had him a little later, but I really liked the pick. And it's turned out really well for Utah, who, they get this guy, like you said, the efficiency is a little questionable, but the scoring has been there. And even more so recently, averaging 15 a game for February and March. And the thing I really like is his size as a point guard. He's 6'4". So you could just see him having more of an outsized impact than a lot of players at his position. And yeah, I think Utah kind of got a steal here. Like you said, 16th pick in the draft. Now he's going 9th or 8th in the redraft. So good stuff for Utah.
Yeah, I agree. This guy's got a natural ability to put the ball in the bucket. And I think the shooting will come because he's a good free throw shooter, shooting 82%. He's already taken 5.5 threes as a rookie, shooting 35%. So I'm not too worried about the efficiency numbers. I think that will come with development and playing with better players. And the next pick is the 10th overall pick, which originally was the Dallas Mavericks picks to John.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because it is the Mavericks who are kind of in win now mode. But I'm just going to stick with my board and take Bilal Coulibaly, who originally went to the Wizards with the 7th pick. I know he's really young. He's raw. He's still 19. And, the Mavericks kind of need win now guys, which is why I think Lively turned out well for them. But the guys below him, I didn't love the fit either. They didn't offer, Podziemski, I thought about Kayson Wallace. Those are kind of more undersized guys that are more offense and defense, which the Mavericks do not need. So I would just take Coulibaly, best guy there. Hope he develops, kind of quickly. The shooting's all right. He's 36% from 3. You hope that improves, but there's at least some signs there. And just the reason he went 7th, he's got the frame, for a wing, the athletic makeup, and he might take a little time to get going, but I still like him as a prospect. And at the 10th pick, I think he's fallen a little bit, so I would take him.
Yeah, I agree. He's kind of been an under the radar rookie this year, honestly. I like him for all the same reasons you mentioned. His frame, he's long, he's got defensive potential, and I think the shooting is also there too. Like you said, he's shooting 36% from 3, taking 3 a game. He could be one of those typical 3-and-D wings in this league, and any team could use one of those. Next up is the 11th pick. The Orlando Magic originally had this pick, and this is honestly a tough one for me. Honestly, I haven't yet really decided, but I'm gonna have him take Podziemski because I think he's a great shooter, and he could work well with any team. I think you could plug him in anywhere, and this Magic team is starting to show that they're getting ready to compete. They're starting to develop. They're starting to not saying they're like legit contenders, but they're starting to become legit. They're starting to become a team that people don't really want to face because of their multiple weapons, because of how they play defense. And I think Brandon Podziemski would just bring another aspect of that game to them, some guy that could shoot on the outside, similar to a Franz Wagner, and will just provide more threats for this team.
Yeah, I love this pick. I think this is one where if this is how it shaked out, it'd be so much better for the Magic. This was the Jet Howard pick, which a lot of people questioned in the moment. 11th overall, this guy might go late first, but what are you doing? And he's done absolutely nothing for them all year. He's only played 13 games, virtually no stats. And like you said, they're good. They're young, so this isn't a make or break year. But if they had one other guy, they could be able to get over the hump where they're at, maybe win 1 or 2 rounds. And Podziemski would be perfect. He's already a good scorer. He would fit right in as some kind of bench guy. Just run the offense a little bit, hit some shots. He's 36% from 3, which is more than passable. And as someone that thought maybe the Magic should have done something at the trade deadline, if you'd gotten a Podziemski, who was available with this, with their 11th pick, you don't even have to do anything at the deadline. You don't feel any pressure, and they'd be better off. So, really good pick here for the Magic.
Yeah, and the next pick is the number 12 pick, originally the Oklahoma City Thunder's pick, and Derek Lively is not on the board anymore.
Yeah, that's tough to see. I wanted to go with Lively. Just looking at the pick, I kind of want to add some spice into this draft. Especially if we're only doing 14 picks and I don't get my last pick. We're in Bloomington, Indiana. There's some bias, but give me Trace. I think Trace Jackson Davis has been playing phenomenally this season, has been playing out of his shoes, and has been playing so much better than what everyone expected him to be doing. On this Warriors team, I think he speaks a lot bigger than what his stats show. He's only averaging 7 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist, but he's shooting 70% from the field. He's working so well on this Warriors roster when you have guys like Curry, Clay around him, just guys who can set him up, pick and roll, just getting him the ball down low, and he is playing so well, filling his shoes so well. And I know this is extremely early. I know this is very debatable, but I want to add some spice to this draft, and I would love to take Trace Jackson Davis.
No, I love this pick. I love this pick a lot, especially for this Thunder team, that you just add another athlete to this team, add another guy that could run the floor. If you didn't take him, I was going to take him at 14. I have him in my top 15 rookies. I think that he truly makes an impact beyond his stats go, like you said. And I want to talk about fit too. The Thunder would be an amazing fit for this guy, young team, run the floor. But I don't think that there's a better fit than the Warriors and like where he ended up. And I'm so happy that he ended up there. He's a guy that runs the floor, plays with other good players, hustles, tries hard, provides great energy to that Warriors team as a little young spark.
I thought for sure Victor might take him, but Aiden jumped the gun. Knew he was going to be picked, obviously, because the IU stuff, but he does deserve to go in the lottery for a redraft. His defense, unselfish play. He's just a guy you plug in, 7th, 8th, 9th man on a good team, and he will contribute. I do think the fit is good. I agree with you, Victor, that the Warriors is probably the best one because he could kind of play that small ball 5 with the second unit. They have all the shooting. But I think the Thunder are a similar team with a lot of shooting, and they could really use them. A lot of us, people, including myself, thought, what are you doing not getting a center, getting some Chet insurance? Your rebounding is really questionable, and you could compete for the title this year. And they didn't really do anything. They just got Hayward, who's a wing, but he's hurt a lot. TJD, he's not exactly, a Clint Capella, a real, bruiser, 7-footer, but he would fit perfectly as just a little bit of Chet backup, a little bit of rebounding, another big guy. So really like the pick here at 12? Yeah, 12.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great pick, especially in terms of fit. And the next team on the board is the Toronto Raptors with the 13th pick to John.
Yeah, so the Raptors are going to go ahead and take Cason Wallace, who originally went in the top 10. He went to the Mavericks. They trade him to the Thunder, who we just talked about. He's been really good this year. He was one of those guys that a lot of experts, I'll say in quotes, but we're like, oh, he's kind of a sleeper for the Thunder. And they were right. He's shooting 41% from 3. Obviously limited attempts because his team is really good. He would get much more opportunity with the Raptors, but Just love the shooting. He's a little undersized, but you can never have enough shooting in today's NBA, and I think he's the best guy available.
Yeah, I'm very happy you took him. 20 minutes a game only. He's shooting 41% from three. This guy's going to be a good NBA player because he could shoot, and that's the modern NBA. And I'm really happy you took him because he's a guy I wanted to take. And for the final pick of the lottery, it was originally the
New
Orleans Pelicans. They originally took Jordan Hawkins here with the 14th pick. And I'm not going to lie, I'm in between two guys. It's Jordan Hawkins and Anthony Black. Both guys, honestly, are completely different players. I'm going to go with Hawkins. I'm going to go with the original pick. I really like the way he's playing this year. Maybe I'm still stuck in his college days because he was cold at UConn. But, he's only averaging 9 this year, but he's just a talented scorer, and I think this team could use a scoring spark in any way they can. They have Brandon Ingram on the wing. They have Zion down low. They have guys that could get buckets in that sense for them. But now that you add Jordan Hawkins, a guy that could get his own from the perimeter, I think that's huge. And I just want to mention Anthony Black because I'm kind of upset he didn't go in this top 14 because although his stats don't look great, his shooting splits are very promising. He's shooting 47% and 37% from three. And because I love guys like Shea, big point guards, that could play defense, that could run your offense, be efficient. And I think Anthony Black is very similar to that type of player. I'm not saying he's going to become a Shea, but he's very similar to that type of build. So I could understand why he went 6 overall originally. But I also wanted to give him props for this draft. Honestly, I think that was a pretty good draft from all of us. We all had some very good points. But we are going to move to our At the Buzzer section where we talk about the upcoming days in the NBA, whether that be top games, storylines, anything like that. And Aiden, is there anything that stands out to you?
I think the obvious is Celtics versus Nuggets at Thursday at 10 p.m. And what I think is going to be a preview of the NBA Finals. You have the Celtics, 48-13 against the Nuggets, who are 42-20. They're the 3 seed. But it's just two of the most dominant teams in today's NBA. It's going to be a great matchup. Anytime two of the best teams get together, it's always fun to watch. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to coming up.
Yeah, no, this was obviously the big game I was looking forward to too. Nuggets have been pretty good, not great recently. They're sliding in the 3 seed, only a game back from the 1, so I could see them getting home court again like last year. But they're kind of a team. They're at this point now that they've won before. We know Jokic is the best player, where they kind of pick their spots and like, we're gonna, if we're playing Portland on a Tuesday, maybe we'll take the night off. But they're obviously going to go hard for this one against the Celtics. It'll be in Denver, so I probably think that Denver will win. And last time they played, January 19th, just an awesome game, probably the best regular season game so far. So super excited for this. And if I had to pick now, I think you probably are right that this is a finals preview, so should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely has all the stories like it's a finals preview. The Celtics have been there, the Nuggets just won it. But also they're both coming off of tough losses. And I think that's a big thing, seeing how they bounce back. The Nuggets just lost to the Suns at home. The Celtics just blew a big lead against the Cavs like we talked about earlier. How will these teams respond, I think is also a big question mark. I want to mention one thing that we kind of talked about pre-podcast. Both these teams fit the 40-20 rule, which for the viewers, if you don't know, the 40-20 rule is Phil Jackson's rule that in order to be an elite NBA team, you need to reach 40 wins before you reach 20 losses. There's only been 3 teams in the last 44 years that have won an NBA championship that did not meet this requirement. The teams this year that meet this requirement are the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Denver Nuggets. So based on Phil Jackson's rule, only these 5 teams could win the NBA championship. I just thought that was a cool little nugget I wanted to throw in. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it is a fun like thought exercise, and I think he's probably right in some way. I think the Cavs or maybe or Clippers might be the only teams you would throw in there, but I definitely think that is the elite crop of the NBA, and this will be a good kind of test point for both teams where they are. I'll talk about what I'm interested in. It's not actually one game; it's a handful. It's Philadelphia's next kind of week or two. They're in a precarious spot. I don't think a lot of people know where they are exactly in the standings. They're in the 7 seed, so they're in the play-in right now. Now they're only a half game from the 4 seed, but they're also only a game from the 8 seed. So and obviously Embiid isn't back yet, but just this upcoming schedule is a little scary. So they play the Grizzlies and the Pelicans today, and then on Friday the Pelicans. But after that, you've got Knicks twice on the road, Bucks on the road, and then you have the Heat and Suns and Lakers and Clippers all kind of in a cluster. That's taken them to late March. So they have one of the harder remaining schedules. Embiid's not back yet. If I were a Philly fan, I'd be a little nervous right now. So I'm curious to see how they'll do in this stretch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what ends up happening with Philly. I know a couple episodes ago they were at the 4 and now they're at the 7. It's tough, when you have a guy like Embiid who's similar to Jokic in the sense of just a dominant player, continuing to be one of the best in the NBA. For him to be sidelined, it's going to be tough for them to bounce back. And it will be interesting to see if, they'll hang in there at the in the play-in or if it can even get worse. But I'm rooting for Philly. I like them, and I think they'd be great if they were healthy. So we'll see what happens.
One last game I want to mention is tonight. The Bucks play the Warriors. I thought the Bucks looked good in their last game. The Warriors obviously had that really, really tough loss to the Celtics. I want to see, can the Warriors, what are they going to do against these elite teams? Are they just going to fold like they did against the Celtics? That's not what we want to see. We want to see Curry on, national television doing his thing. So, the Warriors go back home for this one and hopefully could regroup and at least play a solid game against the Bucks and not lose by 60.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. The Warriors, obviously they had the really bad Celtics loss, but it is the Celtics in Boston. And they've been, it seems like, on a hot stretch for 2-3 weeks. They're 7-3 in their last 10, and they're still in the 10 seed. That kind of just goes to show you how competitive the West is, especially that kind of 5 to 10 range. So definitely they need to start winning some games and at least secure a play-in spot. And if not, get a home court playoff game, get the 6th seed, something like that. In terms of the Bucks, it's really interesting for a team that's been really strong lately. I think, winning 6 in a row. I feel like we all still have questions about them. I almost think, are we unfairly comparing them to the Celtics all the time? Obviously, we have a high standard because they have Giannis and they've won before, but they're the 2 seed. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Giannis is having an awesome season. Lillard's still a little inconsistent, but will have flashes of really strong play like he did the other night. So it'll be a good win for both teams. I definitely think the Warriors need it more, but it should be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't think we're unfair for comparing the Bucks to the Celtics. You should be comparing the 2 top teams in the conference. The Cavs might have a better record, but the Bucks roster is they should be there too,
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we've been saying that all year. But speaking of the year and our schedule, we will not be having episodes next week. We will be on spring break, and we'll be back on Monday, March 18th. So that has been all for the Make It Take It podcast. I'm your host, Victor Kustin. I'm here with Aiden Mattel and John Yaley, and on the buttons is Jason Maya. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.